Yo, what is up? Erica here from Howie49RC. Thank you so much to my patrons and channel members for supporting me the way you do. You guys make these videos possible. So today we're going to be doing a little bit of shop infrastructure work. This here behind me is my Rambold turret lathe. It's a German-made lathe. It is very nice, very cute. I fell in love with it and it's my baby. Its name is Ramby. So I mentioned it back in one of the previous videos about this lathe that I wanted to do an oil system for it because it does have a nozzle thing right here for feeding oil to your cutting tool. And I want to make use of that. So the reason I'm taking this project on now is because I got a power steering pump from a Ford Thunder Turd at work that is perfectly good. We swapped it out. Somebody thought it was the issue. It wasn't the issue. So I've got a perfectly good Thunder Turd power steering pump, which is what we're going to use as our oil pump, which is perfect. And it's very small, compact. It's got a nice flat bottom on it. Just going to have to take these pins out. Also going to have to take the pulley off. I got a couple pulleys right here. I got a couple pulleys. One for the power steering pump, one for the motor. Here's the motor. Before you tell me this is overkill, I know it is overkill. I wasn't really sure what I needed. Honestly, this came out to be a lot bigger than I expected. I thought this was going to be a smaller motor. But you know what? We'll roll with it. Better to have a little too much power than not enough, right? And then, of course, what exactly am I going to be pumping? What kind of oil? I'm going to be doing a combination of rigid dark cutting oil and Tap Magic EP Extra. I freaking love Tap Magic. I heard about this combo online at a 4-to-1 ratio, 4 parts dark oil, 1 part Tap Magic. And my goal is to hit about a 2.5 gallon oil tank capacity. Speaking of tank, we're gonna have to make a tank. It's gonna be kind of a flat, a large kind of a flat tank because it's gonna sit right behind this pillar here. The oil pump and motor is going to go on the other side underneath the actual lathe motor. It's going to be a tight squeeze. Hopefully I can get my oil pump contraption all weaseled into the base of my lathe. So this is the space I've got to work with. I know, it's not much, especially considering I've got this motor lift linkage and stuff going on, but I think we should be able to make everything fit. The oil pump is going to go right here, roughly. It's going to be a little tucked in more, but that's about where it's going to go. And the motor is going to go right there. I'm going to start by getting the pump all ready to go. I'm going to take this pulley off, get this pulley bored out on the lathe to fit this shaft, and I'm going to have to pull out these alignment dowels. I got my power steering pump modified how it needs to be. I bored out a pulley to fit the shaft. I put a flat on the shaft as well so the set screws will hold it on nicely. I did not tap out the outlet yet. I don't want to do that until I get the actual fitting that's going to go in there so I can make sure it fits perfectly. And I found some bolts that will fit well on it as well. I've been toying with different ideas for how to do my belt tensioning. Since my motor is going to be put up here, having the pump right here on a hinge I think should work pretty good. So I'm going to make use of the shaft for my motor lift and make use of this scrap that I found that's already got 2 1/2-inch holes in it. So that's going to go on like this. So now I've got a nice hinge doohickey. And I found this scrap metal plate that's a good size and shape. That's gonna get welded onto the scrap with the holes, and then we'll end up with a hinged plate here that my pump will then sit on top of and be able to hinge and tension the belt. So the whole assembly is more or less going to look like this, with our pump plonked right on top of it like that. That is the grand idea here. Here's an update on my progress. I've got my motor bolted to the back of the base there. It's gonna have to come back off for me to wire it up. I have this switch box that came with the lathe. It's just a simple on-off switch. So I'm gonna figure out how this works and wire the motor up to that, which will be great. And then I've got my power steering pump, aka oil pump, hinging on my lift rod, and that slides back and forth for alignment purposes. So then once I get my belt later today, I'll string that up, and then I'll figure out where exactly this needs to be, and I'll make some spacers to put in there so that it doesn't slide around anymore. The other thing I'm gonna have to do is change the shape of this push rod because it runs into the oil pump motor. So that shouldn't be too bad. I'll just cut it, make it an angle, and away we go. I'd say I made some pretty good progress this morning. I'm gonna run to the hardware store. I need to get some wire. I need to get a bunch of pipe fittings and nipples and such. And then by the time I get back, hopefully my link belt will be here and the rest of my oil, and we can keep working on this. All right, I'm back from the hardware store. The rest of my oil showed up. Got my link belts. I got a bunch of hose barbs, got some hose clamps, got a ball valve, some nipples, got a T, and some wire to get the motor all wired up. Guys, I got my motor mounted. I got my power steering pump mounted. Got the belt on there. It's not fully tensioned, but that's all right. And it runs. Oh yeah, that is freaking awesome. This hook right here is my belt tensioning system. There's literally just a nut on the other side that when I tighten it down, hinges this plate with the pump on it downward, and thus tightens up the belt. I figured that was probably the most straightforward and simple way to do a belt tensioner instead of some other sort of weighted hinge or spring-loaded contraption. And I was able to use this on-off switch that came with the lathe, so that's pretty cool, because until now, that's just been an open hole. I'm really thrilled that we got the pump running and the tensioner system set up and got the motor mounted and wired up and all that jazz. I went to the auto parts store on my lunch break and picked up a bunch of hose. One of them is labeled as fuel line, the other one is transmission cooler line, both of which are oil resistant, which is good because obviously we're pumping oil. And I got 5/8 for the main supply line from the tank to the pump so that it has a really good large supply of fluid. And then I got 1/2 inch for the lines that go everywhere else. Is this totally overkill? Yes, but this whole project is very overkill. So I need to start thinking about how I'm going to design my tank. Obviously, we need to have a couple of NPT ports on it, and we also have to consider the fact that this is a dirty machine. There are chips and such. I'm gonna put a filter screen on the return, but I wanna design the tank in such a way so that if chips do end up in the tank, that it's not going to get sucked into the supply. So I kind of need to do a little bit of brainstorming about that and where I want the ports to be. So in the meantime, while I'm brainstorming that, I'm going to work on practicing welding the 14 gauge aluminum sheet that I'm going to make the tank out of, because that's really thin and I've never welded aluminum that thin before, so wish me luck. Well, my welds are boogery, unsurprisingly. There's a couple good ones in there. But I've had sufficient practice. I might do a little bit more before I actually weld the tank, but I think based on most of these, I should be good to go for welding up an oil tank. Now, this is the tank and this is the pipe schematic. So from our tank, we have our supply line, which is the 5/8 hose, the big stuff. That comes over to our pump, which goes and gets pressurized and comes out the feed to our squirter. And there's a valve on our squirter so that we can control how much comes out. Don't go there. No, I know you want to, don't go there. But the problem is that when this is off completely, there gets to be a bunch of pressure in this line, ignoring what's going on there. If we're just looking at this line, there's going to be a lot of pressure that builds up in that line because power steering pumps can put out upwards of 1,000 psi, which is way too much, obviously. We only want like 10 psi. So my grand solution to that is to put a ball valve and a T in the feed line. So basically when the squirter valve is off, the pump is just going to be circulating fluid through the tank and through this ball valve. So the idea is that with this valve all the way open, we can use the pressure regulating valve to regulate the flow, the maximum flow that's coming out of the squirter. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. And then of course we've got the return line back into the tank. Now this is my tank designs, 15.5 by 12 by 3 3/4. This is the supply little bung. And I'm going to put 2 baffles around it and a filter screen on top because like we said before, this is a dirty machine. Chips are prevalent and we need to make sure that our oil stays clean. This is a secondary screen because there will be one right up here at the return. So hopefully all the oil coming back into the tank will be clean, but this set of baffles and screen will be a just in case. Making sure we have clean oil is also the reason why I put the supply bung on the opposite side of the tank as our return and pressure regulating return. So that if there are any chips that get brought back in from our return line, they'll fall down to the bottom and hang out over here outside of the baffles, and then the supply will suck clean oil from above it. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do for a lid, so that's still to be determined. That's a very long-winded explanation. I hope that that makes sense. Now, just as reference, the tank is going to go on this side of the base. It's going to tuck right behind this bit of the base, which is going to be nice so that then my cart can still slide in here perfectly. My supply line is going to be down here in this corner, and my return and pressure regulator return are going to be up here in this corner. So there you go. That should be a pretty solid design. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, all that should work out quite nicely. So without further ado, let's get right into building the tank. So I got my tank parts all cut out. Very, very nice. Don't worry, I'm not short, I'm just sitting down. Oh, that was loud. That was loud. And I also got my 2 blocks with NPT ports tapped out. Holy crap, I would not have been able to tap these if I didn't have my giant tap handle. I was putting so much force doing the 1/2 inch holes. I don't even know how I could possibly do a 1 inch hole if I had to. That was freaking insane. But I will say, when drilling the holes with this big of a drill bit, it puts out some serious murder pasta. I mean, like, look at this shit. It's freaking insane. So you may have noticed that I actually have 4 NPT ports and my drawing only had 3. Reason for that is I decided to add a 1/2 inch NPT drain plug. I figured that was probably a good idea because at some point I'm gonna have to move the machine and I'm gonna have to drain the tank, or I'll have to drain the tank and clean it because it's leaking. Hopefully not, fingers crossed. So with our fingers crossed, let's jump right into welding this tank together. I hope it goes well. Alright, here's my tank so far. It's looking pretty good. The welds are extremely, extremely boogery, especially along this edge. But that's okay. I've got my NPT ports welded in there and here. I welded this one in below the surface so that my drain plug would be flush with the bottom, so if I ever have to drain this tank, all the fluid will come out and not just most of it. Then this is what I did for my quote-unquote baffle. It's literally just a piece of pipe sticking up off of the NPT port plate with a hose clamp and some metal mesh on there that I layered over 4 times, so it should be a good little screen for inside the tank. I now get to weld the back of it on like that and decide what to do for a top. I'm thinking that I'm probably going to just cover maybe from here over so that there's like a splash guard basically here for these ports, because one of these is going to be pressurized feed coming back into the tank. And then I'll have a gap over on this side for filling it. And I don't know if I'll put a lid on that or not, but we'll kind of wait and see. Top on the tank, and I've got it filled up with water right now. We're doing a leak test on it, and so far it looks like we have 1 leak right here. Let's see if I can dry it up and if you can maybe see it drip. Yep, right there. There it goes. See ya. Yep, right there. So I'm going to tack that back up, fill it back up with water, let it sit for a few hours, and hopefully that's the only leak. So I did find 1 more leak on our tank, but I got that welded up and it is leak free now, which is awesome. I've also obviously got it mounted into the lathe base. I've got my hose barbs on there. I've got the barb underneath on as well. It's a little loose, so I might do something about that before I fill this up with any sort of liquid. I also just finished tapping out my pump for 3/8 NPT. Some of the threads got a little munged up. I think that's because it's cast aluminum, or it might be magnesium. But as long as I don't over tighten the nipple, it should be okay. Coincidentally, the threads in the pump were already 18 TPI, which is what 3/8 NPT is. And because the hole is only so deep, it's shorter than the total length of the tap, I ran my tap in part way till it bottomed out, took it out, cut the end off. I bought this one specifically to be sacrificial, and then I went the rest of the way in so that then my tapered fit is just right. So this is my outlet assembly. Got a T to a street elbow to a hose barb. This goes up to our squirter. And then this is our pressure relief / pressure regulation ball valve. So I can adjust how much flow is coming through here, which will then adjust the amount of pressure on this side of the ball valve. I basically just have to get all the threads on this sealed up, route the hoses, and then I think we're about ready to give the system a test. It's gonna be pretty freaking awesome. Okay, folks, all my hoses are routed. It looks pretty clean, looks pretty freaking badass. I gotta admit, I left my pressure return line long because I wanna actually hold it in the opening of the tank and see what kind of flow we're getting. And for a screen on my return, I was able to take some of that mesh and a piece of pipe and smush the pipe over the mesh, and it just kind of holds it there. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think you can tell what I did. Okay, I have double checked everything, and I'm pretty sure we're good to go. My squirter valve is off. I'm just gonna start with 1 gallon of oil, of this rigid dark thread cutting oil, because this is the cheaper stuff. The Tap Magic is really expensive, so we're gonna start with this and see how it goes. I'm very scared. I'm very, very scared right now. And in goes the oil. Oh boy. This tank should hold about 2.5 gallons. I can't quite get all of it in there. That's okay. That's a gallon. Ooh, it smells kind of interesting. Actually, it doesn't smell bad, interestingly enough. All right, any visible leaks? I don't think so. All right, I'm gonna hold my pressure return here. Here we go. Oh boy, I'm so scared. Oh, guys, I think it's working. Oh, we have oil flow! We have oil flow! Oh my God, that's so cool! Guys! We have oil flow! I'm trying not to clip the mic, but oh my God, we have oil flow. That is awesome. Okay, I think my next step is to attach my pressure return line to the tank. I think I'm just gonna leave it long because I can use the pump to drain the system in the future if I need to. So I think I'm gonna leave the pressure return here long, and then we'll see what kind of pressure comes out of the squirter. That's the next trick. Okay, got a plan. Okay, I got my pressure return attached back to the tank, so I should be able to just let this thing run and it should do its thing. It's pumping. That's just all it's doing. That's so cool. This is incredible. Okay, let me get some zip ties. Zip tie this guy up out of the way just for the moment. And then we'll experiment with the squirter. Okay, so I've just got my squirter running into the jug for now because I don't want to make a mess on the table just yet. And I don't know how much pressure is going to come out of there, and so I don't really want to just try and aim it towards the return. So I say let's just open her up full blast and see what she does here. Okay. We have oil flow! Look at that! It's perfect! And if I want to adjust it, oh, that's epic! Guys, that's freaking epic! We don't even really need that valve in there. I'm just gonna leave it open. I'm not gonna take it out, because what a mess, right? But like, that is the perfect amount of oil flow. Ah, it's a success! It's a success! Yes! Oh, it's awesome! It's perfect! Okay, time for squirter to return test. Hopefully without making a gigundous mess. It's open, so let's go. Oh yeah! Uh-oh. Interesting. That feeds back rather slow. This appears to be the rate at which the return flows. Which, you know what, I'm okay with, I think, because, I mean, I'm not gonna want a ton of oil spraying all over the place when I'm using this thing. I'm just gonna kind of want a little bit, you know? Just like some little drops as a slight lubrication. I'm not really gonna need absolute, complete, you know, total flood coolant kind of deal, you know? Alrighty guys, everything is buttoned up. I adjusted my motor lift linkage a little bit so that it would clear the pump motor. I got the foot pedal back on. Everything is pretty much complete. I got the rest of my oil in, so I've got a total of about 2.5 gallons in the system. I've got 2 gallons of rigid dark cutting oil and 2 quarts of Tap Magic EP Extra. So that comes out to a 4-to-1 ratio. And I think my cart should fit underneath there. Let's see if it does. This was the whole point. Well, yeah, it fits. That's awesome. I mean, scooch that and there we go. Look at that. Cart fits under the lathe. We built an oil pump system that fits in this tiny little footprint. I am so thrilled. And of course, we can't finish this video without doing a little bit of turning with the oil feed. my camera is now covered in oil. That is absolutely not ideal, and so is the floor. I've had a lot of issue in the past with parting steel, just because it's hard and chattery and nonsense, but this is not bad. Not bad at all, you guys. And with that, you guys, my Rambold turret lathe is finally fully functional with an oil feed system. I don't think it's going to be a very commonly used part of the machine, unfortunately, because it is A, very messy, and B, very messy, and C, I think you can guess what C is. It's also very messy. But even so, it's absolutely a great addition to the machine. I hope you guys enjoyed this build video. It's taken me a couple weeks to put this whole system together, but I do hope you enjoyed seeing my thought processes and my build process and all the work that went into building this oil system. So with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a big fat thumbs up if this does happen to be the first video that you have seen by me. Make sure you go down, hit that subscribe button for more lathe awesomeness. If you want to catch up with me outside of YouTube, head over to my Instagram at highway49_RC. If you want to chat with fellow RC, full scale, and machining enthusiasts just like yourselves, head over to my Discord server. And if you want to support me and what I do and help me do cool projects on the lathe, consider becoming a channel member or joining my Patreon. Links are in the description, guys. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one.